I'm going to get closer to the mic. To say my soul has left my body after you said that is an understatement. What do you mean you haven't heard of J.J. Abrams? I want to be clear that Google is available. Go ahead and put the words into it.
We are back with our favorite segment of the episode. It's Keep It. Lewis.
Yes.
What are you angry about today?
What am I pissed about? My favorite 90s word, pissed. I was also just talking about, you know what I think is the definitive 90s mood word? Moron. Calling somebody a moron. You remember that? That's how I got through middle school.
Wait, speaking of pissed, also the way that it means something different in like UK slang, like you're getting pissed, like getting drunk.
Ooh,
I was with a friend recently, and I was singing along to, for some reason, Chumbawamba.
Okay. A vodka drink or whatever. Yes. Uh-huh.
They discovered for the first time that the lyric was pissing the night away.
Right. There's a lot going on in that song, of course.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do a deep dive on that with the dramaturg, because you're going to learn a lot. Anyway, my keep it this week is to a movie that I didn't entirely hate. I think, in fact, everybody should watch it. It's the new Faye Dunaway documentary that came out on HBO that I was so excited to see. It has interviews with Faye Dunaway, which is rare enough. It also has interviews with her son, which is actually an interesting component of the movie. He's been like a champion of his mother and somebody who I think has helped her through a lot of mental health issues, which are enumerated in the movie. The movie talks about how she is bipolar, which had never been disclosed before. And you also get a good but kind of cursory look at all the amazing movies she's been a part of over the years, from Bonnie and Clyde to Chinatown to Network, and then an interesting discussion of Mommy Dearest. But I do ultimately have to say keep it to this movie because they use the word difficult to describe Faye Dunaway a lot, and that word does a lot of heavy lifting, like to cover a multitude of sins. And the fact is, she wasn't just difficult. Faye Dunaway was the worst person to work with in entertainment history. There is no doubt about it. Anybody who has ever worked with her has multiple stories of just crazy, demanding, impossible to placate situations where they were at her mercy. And she would also show up a million hours late and stuff. And none of that is addressed in the movie. Other than she does say, like, oh, because of, being bipolar, these mood swings take hold from time to time. And that is one explanation. But the amount of cruelty to random people, I don't think is described well. And I do wish also that we had better insight into her as an actor, because she's such an interesting actor. When you watch her in Network, you're like, wow, this person was ready to play a psycho. The choices she makes are so eye-popping and so ghoulish, but also engrossing. She has this kind of ferocious, sort of like jaguar-like appearance as an actress, too, that you're hit with a number of sensations when you watch Faye Dunaway, and that's why she's irreplaceable on screen, too. I do think the movie, one thing it does is highlight the movie Barfly from the 80s with Mickey Rourke, where they play alcoholics, and that is just a dense movie with fabulous acting in it. And Mickey Rourke has remained friends with Faye Dunaway ever since. But I do think we needed to get more insight into what she was as a force on these movie sets over the years.
Barfly, I have not seen that. I should watch it.
You have got to see that movie, yes.
Okay. It's sounding like a John Patrick Shanley play from the 80s. But I'm seeing it was written by Charles Bukowski.
Yes, right, yes. So, I mean, that's what you're getting, that kind of woof.
All right.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow. I can't wait. I will say that movies like documentaries like this could always sort of benefit from at least one producer or someone asking questions of this person about their acting process. Because when you sort of get into the stories of like the salacious things or whatever, it's like that's sort of what you want. Like my favorite thing about the music documentaries, it's sort of like when you hear something about how like Whitney and Clive were working together, or when you talk like David Foster, I always go back to how fucking phenomenal I think that documentary is, because you're just hearing how much of an asshole he was. Everyone who's working with him is like, he's an asshole, but he's also a genius. And they talk about how he would create songs with them. And I think that's sort of what you needed from a Faye Dunaway documentary.
Yes, definitely. I was amused by the fact that apparently Jack Nicholson, at the time they were filming Chinatown, and thereafter to this day, still calls her Dread, because people would dread working with her on set. Ira, what is your keep it this week?
My keep it this week goes to some tweet I saw, probably from a minor.
Right. That's always the first question. Are they 11?
But people were agreeing with it within the responses and the quote tweets. And the tweet was something along the lines of, don't pretend like you knew who J.J. Abrams was before you heard of Gracie Abrams. And I want to say, what the fuck?
Excuse me. To say my soul has left my body is such an I'm going to get closer to the mic. To say my soul has left my body after you said that is an understatement. What do you mean you haven't heard of J.J. Abrams? I want to be clear that Google is available. Go ahead and put the words into it. You'll see that this person has been around and has been utterly unavoidable in pop culture in the past 25 years.
Yeah, it's not like he's a random director too, or sort of an auteur director that only like film nerds would discuss. Like, it's J.J. fucking Abrams. Okay, so we know who he is. We know what he looks like. We know his shtick. We know J.J. Abrams is always going to have somebody opening a box that leads to another box, that leads to another box, that leads to another box. Lost, Alias. By the way, Lost is now streaming on Netflix, and if I have another keep it, it is, there's a lot going on in the show Lost, but I'm tired of everybody just talking about the finale. Talk about anything else. There's so much else going on in that show. And fuck Vulture for releasing an article that was sort of like, here are the episodes of Lost that you can skip. The whole point of binging a show that you haven't seen before is, and especially Netflix, is you just go episode to episode. Like, why are you even getting into the whole process of, I'm going to skip this episode or whatever? Like, you just let it play.
Yeah, right. Also, I mean, like, ultimately you can't recreate the feeling of watching that show during the time, which was, I mean, that took people on a roller coaster. They were enthralled. They became hyper fans. Like, people, like, it's one of those shows where there's no parallel. Like, if you want to watch a show like that, you have to watch that show. So I think the hills and valleys made you more obsessed with it. Like, the boring episodes or unnecessary episodes, I think, add to the addiction in a good way.
One of the insane finales, I'm trying to remember which one, but it's Lock in the Casket, aired the same night that Sex and the City 2 premiered in college, sort of like the midnight screening of it. So we did a double feature of the Lost finale and Sex and the City 2, which probably broke my brain. That is why I'm the person I am now.
To handle that and then Lawrence of My Labia. Yeah, I don't think that's for human beings shouldn't have to deal with that. You made a mistake.
By the way, Lost and Alias, and then you can even throw in Fringe. It's an amazing show, which I love, and I love that pilot. It's almost right at that caliber, but Alias and Lost, two of the most perfect television pilots I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, Alias is why Jennifer Garner has some unimpeachability. I mean, it all goes back to Alias for her. Yeah.
It's not butter?
Or telling Love Simon, go ahead and breathe, bitch, or whatever she said to him.
Part of it also is 13 going on 30. We can't forget that.
I am not a huge fan of 13 going on 30. I'm surprised people stand that movie. Yeah. My joy-free life. You get it.
Is it a teen movie from the 2000s or 2010s that people love? Lewis hates it.
No, don't even start with me on Easy A. Don't even start.
I know. That is what I was referencing. You loathe that movie.
No, absolutely. I've had it. Yes.
Anyway, J.J. Abrams
exists.
I love him. Yeah, he exists.
Seems like I enjoy him also. I told you I interviewed him once really quickly at an event, and I asked him about his favorite film moment of all time, and he picked something from Rear Window, and then I mentioned, I was like, oh, anything with Edith Head costumes in it, and he talked about how as a teenager he wrote a play about Edith Head because she was the only people who could make fat people look cool on screen, and he was like a fat teenager. It was like a very interesting insight into him. Yeah.
Can we see that from him?
Would love, please, yes.
He is a celebrity who I love, a director who I like. I really enjoy him. Like, he has a lot of goodwill built up for me from the shit he's done that I love. But I would love for him to start making more interesting choices again,
Yeah. Please. Yeah. Do the small prestige-y things. Yeah.
Yeah. And Gracie Abrams, I guess we're stuck with her now.
Apparently she's good. I don't know. Not really my thing.
Yeah. The album's okay, you know? So the funniest thing you've ever seen is the song with Taylor Swift called Us, is a video that they released of them coming up with the song. It's just like them singing at each other like lyrics. It's like a scene from a movie where people are creating a song like fucking music and lyrics with Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore or something. And it's like, this was not when you made this song, but congrats.
Yeah. By the way, nothing wrong with the movie music and lyrics with Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore. I love that pairing.
Absolutely not.
There is something wrong with Taylor Swift and Gracie Abrams doing that, though. I don't want to see that.